Okay, here you go. And then here's more of the, here, come over here and check this out. We dug well, not a bunch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those out there. Look at those out there. See where that brush is? Can you see it? Here, let's see. Let's see. There's that little brush pile right there. Brush pile. We're gonna go out there. Brush pile out there. There's that one there. That one there. I dug these. This is about a little bit more than a shovel blade deep. And then in the center, it's another foot or so in the middle. And then I filled these up with mulch that I got from the transfer station. Filled up my truck bed. And then here on the berm, and this is just a big basin. This area is pretty flat. But I've seen them fill up before. At the end of last year's monsoon, I think, or maybe we had some fall rains. I'm not sure, I don't remember. But they did fill up. And that mulch is gonna make sure that this area, you know, stays pretty damp weeks and weeks after everything else has gone to moon dust, dry moon dust. But here, look at this. These things are doing pretty good. Again, this is another one I got in town from a little elm woodland. And he's doing good. And he's gonna keep doing good. This one right here, man, this one I wish you could, no, this is the one. This is the one. I wish you could see how good, maybe you can see. Yeah, look at that. That is coming out of this little, the thicker ones are better. The thicker ones are better, guys. These ones that are like 2 inches wide, maybe a little bit more than an inch wide. Not those, I mean, the pencil ones are great if you can, you know, if you find them and that's what there is, then go ahead. But look at that. Look at that. These things are already put on like, what is that? That's close to a foot. Now they're probably gonna steady out and then do the root business, but those roots in real short order, I mean, if this thing can grow branches like that, you can only imagine, because the roots are priority for these things. You can only imagine these roots are already going down. They're gonna get into there. And when they get into there, it's gonna be game on. Now this one died. This one died. So we're gonna have to replant that. We got 3 2.5 gallon elms left, and one of them is probably gonna fill the space. Look at that. The enemy. Look at, okay. Get out of here. But if we go over here, let's get over here. I'm gonna show you that dieback thing I was telling you about, where you think your tree's dying, but only part of it is, and the rest of it looks great. That's going on over here. And you really got to cover up out here because the cattle, this is further away from where we are and the dogs are and everything. And so the cattle come out here and they like to poke around. And you could tell they like to poke around because they've trampled all over the berm, which isn't really a big deal. But you could see evidence. So this guy right here, you can see what's happened to him. Right? The top. Okay, let's move that for now. The top died. But the rest looks great. In my guess, I was talking earlier about speculation. You can speculate, but don't jump to conclusions. What I think is going on here is that it was grown in partial shade, plenty of moisture, it was getting watered in its pot, and when it got out here, it was a little too dry for it to sustain the foliage that it had put on with its previous, you know, situation. And so it just kind of, you know, let go of what it had that was too much, and it's going to continue on with what it has Nothing else seems to be dying like that. So it's like, okay, I'm in a good spot here. Let's get the roots going. Like the rest of the trees, it's probably gonna steady out until it gets some roots going. These roots weren't cut though, they're out of a pot, so they might do a little bit of both. But of course, you know, mainly it's gonna be the roots for the first few years of a tree's life. It's gonna be the roots. And you're not gonna be impressed with what the tree's doing. You're gonna think what you're doing isn't working, but everything is happening under the ground. This guy, more shade. And I don't mind the shade. These trees are getting enough, just enough sunlight to grow, and the shade is gonna, you know, light a fire under its, you know what, to put some, you know, height on. And that's what we want. We want them to get tall as fast as we can, because the taller they get, the less prone they are to bug predation on the ground. And then by then they got some nice thick bark underneath them at the base. And the cattle and pronghorn or antelope, whatever you want to call them, aren't going to be able to get to them either. I mean, they could, oh, I forgot what you call it when an animal eats around the bottom of a tree and eats all the cambium and kills a tree. You got to make sure that doesn't happen. But you know, the more trees you get out here, the less likely that is to happen. They're just going to move on to another tree with nice shoots coming off of it. So maybe in the winter, but that'll be another problem. If I start seeing that, then you know, then you got to do something about it. You can't do something about everything. You know, you'll drive yourself crazy. What you do is you respond to, I think, you respond to the things that are happening. You don't respond to things that aren't happening. It might not be a problem, and you might be putting all this time into solving problems that aren't really your problem. Oh man, there's a dead cow somewhere off the property, and I can smell it. Got that guy in there. He's doing okay. He's a little guy. I dig these holes so that I can get water soaking down around the tree. This guy's doing good. Wind kind of blew some of the cover off. We'll replace that. There we go. That's good for now at that size. Same thing here. Nice. This one's got 4. Man, the cattle really come to this one, man. You can see the evidence. Okay, but this thing's gonna hold a lot of water when the monsoons come. And we're supposed to be in for a big one this year. So we need to get trees into the ground. Look at that little tuft of growth right there. You see all that? That's because I was dropping a bunch of our gray water into this. And this just shows exactly how these basins are supposed to work. It's exciting. Look at all that. And you keep working your shovel out there. This is flat ground. You keep working your shovel out there, and it doesn't take much. I mean, the tiniest little, look at this guy. This guy's tiny. The tree in there, that was a red cup tree, didn't make it. The grasshoppers got it. But I don't know if you can see that. Tons of mustard growing out of there, and you can see everywhere where I did the holes out here. That little tall spot right there. Tall spot right there. It's another one. Another one that's starting. You don't get immediate results with this stuff. You know, just several months later, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, what's going on over there? Oh yeah, I messed around with a shovel for 5 minutes and look what happened. Oh, this is just a bunch of, oh, this is an example of where I got greedy before I cut the rest down. But this one looked like it was doing okay and it could handle it. I don't know if he'll make it though. He doesn't have any shoots down at the bottom. If you don't have any shoots at the bottom, I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's another one. Just learning, you know, cut some off. Oh, how should I do it? Should I cut them off? Should I leave it? Try it both ways. But one of them's gonna fail. Yeah, then you know. Then you know. Okay? That one's doing nice.
Hey, big grasshopper.
Good. Now these, I have some pretty big little, well, pretty big little tree trunks over here. Man, you can just see them. Look at them. Look at them. Grasshoppers. Okay. This one's growing in nice and thick. There's 3 on this one. Look at them. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. But they're leaving us alone this year for some reason. We'll see what happens. Nice meristems. Still, look at that little true bug right there. Over here. 10th grade biology. Okay. Look at them. Look at them. Look at them.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. How's a man gonna grow a plant out here? Okay. Look at that. See? I don't know. I could keep it. I could keep it. I'm probably gonna keep it. It looks fine. I'm gonna keep it. But I could cut this down. Just cut it off. And then let this stuff take over. Let the root system, you know, do its thing. Go down into that bowl. From that bowl to the mulch basin. The roots are gonna be there this year. The roots are gonna be there this year. I mean, if this thing is able to just do this, whatever it does above ground, it's doing like more than double, I'm sure, under the ground. Because these trees are all about the roots. These trees are all about the roots. That's what they do. That's what they do. That's why they survive. That's why they make it. That's why everyone hates this tree. Everyone hates this lovely, lovely tree. Because it's a survivor. You ain't half the man this tree is. This tree can make it anywhere. Franken tree. That's what I call it. You can hack it up. You can throw it on the ground. I wouldn't be surprised if it just sprouted roots and you had a tree. You could do anything to this tree. It doesn't care. It's gonna make it. And that's why we're growing it. 20 million BTUs. That's not
20 million BTUs.
20 million BTUs. That's not that's not oak or anything like that, but that's good. You can get a coal bed off of that. You season it. Oh, elm is so sour. It smells so sour. Season it. Stop burning wood. Stop cutting wood off the tree and thinking you can take it to the fireplace or to the stove. You know, you got to let it sit for 1.5 years. Think ahead. Oh, 18 months. I didn't think that far ahead. That's what it is. Probably less. Probably less. And this is to come. That's our little shed out there. We're getting our cabin going over there. Brush clearance. I got to get the juniper to cover these things somehow. Brush clearance. I'm going to pick these up off the ground. We're going to pick these up off the ground. Get a little more sunlight in there. Let these trees get some wind, a little bit of wind through them. Look at them. Look at them. Look at them. You can see a little. I know you can't see it that good. Look at them. It's out of control. Can't wait for these chickens to come. They're going to get them. They're going to get them. They're going to hammer them. But yeah, this one, look at how nice a tree looks when you get it off the ground. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get underneath that thing and think for a little while. Gotta rake out the tumbleweed. There's free mulch right there, free mulch. Just rake it up, bang it down with your feet, throw it around the base of a new tree. You get a little bit of firewood out of it, this big stuff, look at that. Let it sit. Thing about softwoods is they season a lot faster. You could burn this stuff pretty good without much creosote, and you know, one hot summer, some of the fall, it's getting pretty close. Especially, I mean, we got 10% humidity out here. This stuff's gonna be ready to go in just a few months. Got more of it over there. Let's get into the shade. Let me tell you guys, a wall tent will eat some wood, as you can imagine. But after all this brush clearance, we'll be back into the national forest, cutting all the controlled burn juniper down, taking them home. That's the juniper's just great. It's not oak, but it's great and it smells really nice. You could cook with it, you can keep warm with it. You know, every place provides. Look at this. Nice dead branch. There's some stuff you can burn in there. The rest of it will just be cover for the trees that we're planting. Just like this stuff right here. This is all the stuff that I brought down the other day. And then they're gonna go this area right here. This is, see, I'm in a bowl. You can see all these hills. All those, you know, it's behind the tree over there. I'm in a big bowl, floodplain. There's only, you know, I don't know, 4 acres of the property that's not in the floodplain. Most of the floodplain is just sheet flow. Where we're sitting right here, this water gets deep. But out there at the base of the hill up to here, sheet flow, you know, 1/2 inch. It's not a real flood. But you got to get that, look at this. You can't really see it. You know, you dig a pond right there and you get standing water. This right here, little bit of erosion, that's how you know. This whole area, it's flat as hell, but it comes here. You can see all this brush right here. Look at that big old juniper. These one seed junipers, man, they don't really get that big. I mean, they do, but this is one of the bigger ones out here. I'm just thinning him out. I'm not going to take that one down. But look at this. I got to get these guys covered. 2.5 gallon pot. Doing great. 2.5 gallon pot. See? That old dieback thing I'm talking about, you can see a little stem at the top. It died back a little bit, but the rest of the tree's doing good. 2.5 gallon pot. And then this is where I'm gonna put trees when they come out. Okay, and then that's where we get to coming over here. My kids like playing underneath this tree. Look at that. Nice little bundle. I had to drop that thing. It was a big old dead branch. I'm gonna get that guy right there. That's some more firewood. Let's see here. We're finally here. We're finally to it. We made it. Okay. I don't know what to say about these guys. These are desert peach. Not good for eating, but they're pretty trees. And that's how they are. And if you pull them out, here, Ezra, come over here. If you pull them out, you'll see why I'm not a huge fan of the red cups. Here, take that, Ezra. No. Take this. There you go. I'm gonna pull this one out. Look at that. Tree's tiny. And it's already got its root bottomed out there. Some of them even more so. Let's look at this one right here. Look at that.
Poor guy.
Look at that. Here, get this. Look at
Wow,
that.
That's an earthworm.
That's why you don't really want to use a red cups. Tree's too small to be resistant to bugs eating it. So it needs to stay in a pot. But it's already getting to where it's going to be root bound. And you don't want to cut that root, because these types of trees aren't like these elms where they can just kind of pick a new leader. These are what I'm talking about with the 2.5 gallon. I got 4 of them, not 3. And then look at these guys. This is before I got our tree pots here. I think they're like, what, 5 inch by 12 inch or something like that. Russian olive. I'm really excited. This is my first year. You have to put them in the fridge for 90 days. So I ordered them in January, soaked them for a day, the seeds, and then threw them in a very damp napkin for 90 days. They're actually in there for longer, but 90 days is what they have to do. And then you'll notice they're ready when you start seeing some of them with the little tap root coming out, little root emerging. And then you just throw them in here. And these trees, these are Franken trees as well. They're a little bit more taproot oriented, from my understanding, than the Ulmus pumila, the Siberian elm. But they're also really good coppice trees. Look at the little seed emergence. But these trees are survivors. They're survivors. These, look, these are, and I give them Miracle Grow. I know everybody hates me. Just Miracle Grow works fine. You know, it's not what they're going to be on for the rest of their life. I'm not watering the entire property with the stuff. It's just to get the trees woody so that faster, so the bugs don't eat them. And it works. You know, plants don't eat organic nutrients. Organic nutrients break down into inorganic nutrients, and then the plant uses that. So if you're putting fish poop in your plants, they're not eating from that. They're waiting for bacteria and fungi to break it down into the original mineral nutrients, inorganic minerals, and then it's using that. And the salts that Miracle Grow uses are exactly what that is. So you don't abuse the stuff, but why not? Why not? Who cares? Get off the high horse. Do what works. Look at that. And you don't need too much of that stuff with these guys, because these guys are experts in growing in crappy places. And trees that are good at growing in crappy places get burned a little bit easier than trees that need more nutrients. So you just give them a little so that they can do that. So they don't, so they don't stall out. So they don't stall out looking like that. They sit like that for weeks. You don't want that. You want them to start doing this right when they get out of the ground. You don't want that. You want that. You want that. Stop playing games. Organic, inorganic. Stop playing games. You want that. Well, this guy's brand new. That's why he's only like that. Well, you're destroying the planet with your plant salts. Miracle Grow. I don't feed my kids things that are grown with Miracle Grow. Okay, buddy. Emergence. Look. These guys have only been here for a few days. They come up right away. These trees, we'll come back in a few days and show you. And they'll be able to do the taproot thing without bottoming out, and they'll be ready. And then we can run around and plant them in our wash and get rid of our junipers. Look at that. Afghan, pine. You'll notice all my plants are native to the steppes of Asia. For some reason, North America decided with these climate, decided to deal with these climates by using trees that grow low and slow. Conifers. They don't grow, we don't have fast growing trees out here. Oaks. And we're gonna do oaks eventually, but we're gonna set the stage for them first with some of these guys. Here's a native. Arizona ash. I'm excited about that. Imagine having a stand of ash out here. You'll have tool handles for the rest of your life. Okay? And those coppice. So you can just cut them and they'll give you tool handles again. More Russian olive, which is really nice. From what I hear, it's really not, man, I can't wait to get my hands on some of this stuff, and because all I really know about is juniper out here in terms of like what natives burn like. But I heard that's a nice sweet wood to burn, and it's just beneath oak, but it grows pretty relatively fast for its density. So these right here, are the Russian olives that are coming in. That's like 50 of them. This is 50 more Siberian elm. And I gather these seeds every year, hundreds of them. It takes a few minutes when they all start blowing around, and then you're ready to go. You just, and then what do I use for potting soil? We use juniper duff, and then we mix it with a little bit of, native dirt. But we use juniper duff. Kids run out, they harvest it, they rake it up from underneath the trees, the juniper trees, and you can see it's got fungus and stuff in it, which is awesome. It's ready to go. Look at that. It's nice and spongy once it gets wet. And then I mix a little bit of dirt in that. And then you use your Miracle-Gro to give it what it doesn't have, which is, it's kind of devoid of nutrients, but it works. It's nice stuff for the baby roots to do their thing in, Yeah, little baby juniper. Right? So that's what we're doing out here. And we'll talk about the dogs another time. I'm breeding dogs too. So I hope it was fun checking this out. Let's start talking about these trees in a better light, because they do what the trees we have here won't do in places like this. And they only invade places that have already been destroyed. So if we want to talk about the damage they're doing, we should talk about the damage we're doing first. Let's stop being purists about our trees and just, man, I don't care what kind of tree it is. If I can sit underneath it, if I can keep myself warm with it in the winter, come on. If I can feed a goat with it, come on. Let's stop playing games. That's all I have to say for now.